Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our reaction and review for the Blacklist Season 10 episode. It's 41 and 22. Man, I'm already emotional. If we what are we, like 8 seconds into this? This is the series finale, guys. You know, what a ride. What a crazy ride.
This is our very last Blacklist video, guys. I'm really emotional about this. I mean, watching the episode, I was getting really emotional with it as well. There's a lot of stuff that I really liked about it. And then there was Reddington's identity not being said. Listen, there's a
Oh boy.
robot on Mars right now, and you're telling me that they can't just tell us who Reddington is? I think they can.
I think they can. I know there were people already in the comments telling us that they did. Like, I am well aware that they are out there.
No. I wanted them to actually just say it and stand on it. I'm with John Eisendrath. I just wanted a very clear answer on it. Also, no number 2? Am I a joke to you, NBC? I know that it was probably Neville, but like, come on.
Okay, I think what's very interesting about this finale, and I mean, there is a lot to talk about, good and bad, through a lot of this. I mean, there were moments there were moments I teared up. There were moments, the ending, where I was legitimately angry. Like, I've got all of this stuff is just.
What
like,
are you angry
building.
about? You angry about that bull?
There is some bull that happened at the end of the. They set themselves up by ending this finale with the bull that makes me want to say words that I cannot say on YouTube as a result of all of it. Like, there is,
You can say it over on our Patreon, though.
speaking of which, after we are done here, so it's going to be about 8 o'clock Pacific time, we are going to be live on Patreon going through the Blacklist series finale, talk all things TV, hear from a lot of you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. So join us over there. We have a link in the description below to our Patreon. Thank you to everyone who has. I mean, we are so grateful to all of you.
Yes, thank you for everyone who's joined our Patreon. It's really meant a lot to us. It's really helped us out here at the channel. So, thank you.
Now, I know the Blacklist is ending, but you know what? We have a lot we're still doing here at the channel. Don't go anywhere. We are in the process of covering The Walking Dead Dead City.
Yep.
What We Do in the Shadows premieres tonight. Vampire mockumentary comedy. It is outstanding. It is hilarious.
Absolutely. And if that's not up your alley and you are looking for another really good crime show,
Yeah.
Justified is starting up on Tuesday. We've already been able to have a sneak peek of it, and it is so good. And also, Only Murders in the Building, that is going to be coming up in 3 weeks, something like that, 3-4 weeks. Another really good murder mystery type show. So we're still going to have a lot of content like that here at the channel. And also, you guys need to just leave it in the comments for us. What do you want to see us talking about next? So that way we can all be on the same page and continue on the conversation.
Yeah, we love this community. The comments over the years have been amazing, fantastic.
You're making me emotional now.
We're all gonna be emotional. I'm just gonna put it out there right now.
I just can't believe it's over. Like, all day long. I don't know if any of you guys were feeling this as well, where it was just like, I knew it was coming, but I just couldn't believe it.
I feel like in agreeing to sit down and watch this finale, I was like walking up to the bull in a lot of ways, and I was just like, all right,
here we go.
Whatever happens here happens. Okay, here's the thing. We're just gonna start with the end at this point, since it's already been brought up by me. Okay, but this is
so we ended the show with the sickness coming back. Reddington, if you guys remember, was sick and seemingly, on the brink of death many seasons ago, and then it just vanished. It just didn't come back up again. Then we're in this situation in this finale where Dembe gets shot and needs a blood transfusion, and Reddington gives his blood, and the doctor's like, he's not doing well, this Reddington guy. Like, he's ill, and we see him later again coughing up blood. We've seen that in the past. So they gave us enough sort of hints that's like, okay, he's dying. And then he decides he's going to go out on his own terms. We're going to hear a version of, my way, and he's going to get taken out by this bull. For me, seeing Reddington dead at the end of this and actually seeing his body all mauled on the ground was horrifying. I didn't like it at all. It just was such a journey that we've
Yeah.
been on. To see him that way was really shocking
All right.
and not satisfying in any way, but it's a dark show, right? So
It's a dark show. I hated the last few minutes. Like, I'm just gonna say that. I didn't hate the entire finale, but I hated the last few minutes. I don't need this character to go out in that way. I understand Reddington is a criminal. I understand Reddington has done some really bad things, but just because of a transfusion, all of a sudden, we're bringing back this sickness that hasn't been brought up in years. You guys are still not telling us what exactly this sickness even was. So
nope, no answers on that.
That is still beyond unclear. And then we're going to tie all this to a bull. And I know that there is some mythology out there with the Blacklist. We heard about some of it with Sia, that it's not like it's completely out of nowhere.
No, it's not.
But it's also reasonably obscure enough that it's like, if I'm thinking in my head of all the different ways that Reddington is going to go on his own terms, this is not even like in the top 5 of the ways in which I would imagine it. Like, I guess it's courageous in a way that he has like a mini running of the bulls here where it's only one bull, and it didn't feel like enough. I wanted something that was bigger, more fireworks if you're going to do this, but really I just wanted to see Reddington alone, living out his final days in peace. I assume that he was going to die at some point fairly soon anyway. It's just like seeing it just bummed me out, like knowing what we already know.
Bringing back the sickness, I feel like was a mistake. I know that they wanted to tie it in so that, when he found out that Wrestler was there and he had a choice. Okay, I can either go out on my own terms, or I can let Wrestler finally get me after all these years. No, I'm not going to choose the Wrestler road. I'm going to go out on my own terms. And I think, if he wasn't sick, he would have found another way. Like, it wouldn't have necessarily been like, I might as well choose death because I'm dying anyways. And it's like, oh, well, what's around here? Well, I'm here with this, bull skull, and there's bulls here. Here's the connection sort of thing. It was just kind of like, this needed to be set up a little bit more. And in defense of it, and I'm not saying that I love it or don't love it, I'm just saying he is this man of mystery. Over the years, I've heard him say all these different stories. Remember this time, and I was here, and you remember that night. And it's always these really odd, crazy stories. It kind of makes sense for his character to go out in a really strange way, where when they tell the tale of what happened to Reddington, he fought a bull and lost, it's just going to get bigger and bigger as time goes on.
But by like 5 years from now, this bull has to be like 20 feet tall, have like fire coming out of its nostrils, like
knives on its hooves.
Okay, so here's what I will say. We've talked about this in the past. That Reddington, one of his more famous monologues, he describes himself as a sin eater. And in a big way, all of this happens because he decides to go back and make sure that Dembe is okay. He works to save Dembe's life. And Dembe was only in this position because Dembe decided to call him in the first place. So Dembe, his sin was looking out after his friend. And I think for Reddington, he thought, okay, for one of my last hurrahs, if I'm going to have a last hurrah, I'm going to return the favor. And, if I die at the end of all of it, I die. But I die doing something for somebody who I cared about. I love that part of it. The thing I love the most, and this is the thing that legitimately got me, a step away from doing my go-to I'm sad watching TV move, which is going out in the backyard and sobbing by myself, which was Dembe's monologue. Hisham's... That is the best performance I've ever seen Hisham do.
So good. I mean, there was a few moments in these 2 episodes that really got me, Reddington touching Paula's face and just like
Yeah.
calling her a pleasure. It was like 18 minutes in, and I'm like, oh my God, like it was so emotional. But yeah, that speech, Dembe's speech,
Yeah.
was 10 out of 10. It got me right in my feels.
I think Hisham just understood, I'm there's not a lot of people left who have been in every season of the show. And I think he probably looked at that monologue and was just like, usually this is the spot where we have the Spader monologue, but Spader is off by himself and, Spain about to meet this fate. And so I think Hisham put it on himself. That was like, I got to be the guy. The coach is putting me in. I got to score all the points. And
yeah,
I mean, it was, I think, so moving, and it spoke so well about how Reddington contemplates the idea of death. And I think he was never afraid of it. And, that's always, I think, in some ways what his boldness was, what he and Glenn, and I'm glad Glenn got the, airtime he did in the finale. That's what they had in common, was sort of their zeal for life. And, with that, of course, comes an understanding and willingness to accept death. And that was where Reddington was. That part of it makes sense to me. I just wish it didn't happen that way.
I think for me, I just wish it didn't happen. Like, that's why I said I don't love it. I don't hate it. I know there's lots of people out there that really don't like it. The thing I don't like about it is that they decided to kill the character. I think they didn't need to go there with it. And I know that they had been building it up all season, that, he's talking about, the end of his life and this and that, and it has been going on all season. So I think all of us were kind of like, he's going to end up dead. I mean, they're really foreshadowing this, like, over the head, that he's not going to make it out of this. But there was no reason that had to be the ending. Like I said, the sickness came back out of nowhere, and it was just like, okay, like, you guys told a good enough story with that. The parts make sense. It makes sense that he would do something like this, go out on his own terms. He's not going to get arrested by wrestler. I mean, there was that moment at the end where wrestler found him and was like, kind of like, I got my man kind of thing, and put the fedora on him. And I really wish they had did a close up on that, because it being so far away and seeing him pick up the hat and put it on him, I really would have liked to have been intimate in that moment. But the one thing that I will say that I found very interesting was that Reddington was speechless during this whole looking at the bull looking at him, making his decision on what he wants to do. And he is never speechless. So having this moment with Spader where it's like he's giving us everything in Reddington without saying anything, that was done really, really well. I've got my hard hat on because I know so many people hated this ending with Reddington. And trust me, there are some things that I don't like about this episode. Like I said, they didn't straight out say who Reddington is, but we'll get to that.
Yes.
But I didn't hate this part of it as much as everybody else did. I always said that if they sold me the story properly, that I'll buy it. I just didn't like that Reddington died.
I admit that I am one of the people who's just like raging about
I understand why people are mad.
I think it's just, I just expected something really different. And I think just a lot of the little choices, it's like, My Way is a song choice, too on the nose for me.
Way too on the nose.
I think that took away from it. Like you said, I wish there was a close-up shot. I thought that was a really weird directorial choice.
Yeah, especially with it being Wrestler. I mean, Wrestler was chasing him before the task force was even put together. That intimate moment needed to be there. Because Wrestler has been on both sides of this, where he's just the guy chasing him, and then he's the guy working with him, and then Reddington has done favors for him, and they become pretty close. I needed to see that intimate moment with them. I feel like that was such a missed opportunity for the show to really get me in the heart.
Now, I will say this about the ending before we get into the massive, just full on, Thunderdome situation we're going to get into with Reddington's identity.
Goodness.
I don't think this ending is as bad as How I Met Your Mother. I don't think this ending is as bad as Dexter, pre-Dexter New Blood, or maybe even Dexter New Blood as well. But
oh my goodness, both of those endings were just trash.
I just want to get that out there right now before we all go to hyperbole land and we're like, this is the worst finale of all. No, How I Met Your
No.
Mother, which completely invalidated the entire point of the show. It is waving hello at all of you people right now.
The thing that this show, I feel, did everybody dirty on. I already have my hard hat on here.
Yeah.
I know that there are lots of people out there that were like, Red is Katarina, and it's been clear the whole time. For me, it had not been clear. Were there hints there? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Until somebody says it, there's always up for interpretation. There are lots of endings of shows that are like that, where they're not clear with things like Blind Spot. That's a good example of that, where it's like, how did it really end? I'm not going to get into that in case somebody hasn't seen it. But, you know, here it's the same thing. We had this conversation with Red and Agnes, where he's giving her some advice, boy advice, which is something that a father or a mother could give. Anybody can give that advice.
Yes.
You can give it as a mother sort of having gone through that with boys at a young age, or you can give it as a father being the boy who did that to somebody before. Like, you know, we all know that boys can have some difficulty when they're younger, sharing their feelings. I remember Brent Robinson when I was like 6 or 7, and I told him I had a crush on him, and he punched me. And, you know, maybe he had a crush on me, or maybe he was like, no. But you know what?
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it is with boys. Anyways, the point is that it could have been a mother or a father. So having Agnes say, oh, you sound like such a mom, and him saying, yeah, I guess I do, sort of thing, it's not a confirmation to me. It's, again, another hint. They just needed to say it. So, John Eisendrath, I'm really sorry that you got overruled, but you clearly did. And them not just giving an answer and standing on it, that's just BS. Like, what are you doing? We all were on this journey with you for 10 seasons. Like, how could you not just say who he is? Just say, he's Katarina. I would have been fine with that. You tell me he's an alien from Neptune. Here we go. That's fine. Beam me up. Tell me the story. I will believe you. Just stand on it. And you didn't.
As one of the aliens from Neptune, I am going to tell you the story. Okay, here is where I am with a lot of this. And this is all about to get very, very complicated, so I apologize in advance to a lot of people. Now, as some of you may have known, you know, earlier this year, Kristen Gee, who's directed some episodes of the show, she had posted on Instagram in response to somebody, a lot of this isn't even online anymore, basically that there would be some sort of indirect hint as to Reddington's identity in the finale. And I think because of that comment on Instagram, I think a lot of people are now going to view this as confirmation that, okay, Reddington is Katarina. And, you know, and I don't mean this as any offense at all to Christine, because I appreciate her interactivity with the fans, and, you know, she's interacted here as well, and we appreciate that a lot. But I almost wish I didn't know that information now, because ultimately for a casual fan, you know, probably not people who are watching, you know, 18 plus minutes here on the channel, but just like the everyday fan, I don't think they're going to come away from this with like any sort of super clear answer one way or another. And because of that, we all still technically deserve the right to come up with whatever explanation that we want. And that is why all of you are going to get so mad at me right now. And you know why?
Here we go.
That's fine. If you want to still say that this is the real Reddington, the show copped out. The show didn't actually give you a cohesive answer. The only evidence that you have of a cohesive answer is that a director said that there would be an indirect hint on Instagram. The show never said that you should interpret that as proof. What's on the show is technically the only thing that's canon, which is why there is technically no number 2, even if we all believe it is Neville Townsend.
It is Neville Townsend, but there's no number 2. We're a joke to you, NBC.
They all think we're a big joke, and you know, because of that, we can do whatever we want. You guys don't get to just like go in your supplemental material and be like, oh, well, it was said by this person. Well, you know what, buddy? That person could say whatever they want. And I know I'm not saying that Christine did that. I am just saying that the show is the show. The show is the only thing that matters at the end of the day. And they didn't go there.
No, they chickened out. They needed to just say who he was. obviously there's a lot of hints that he's Katarina, and he's probably Katarina. And I say probably because they didn't say it.
Yeah.
And they needed to just say it. And it had been like, we've been led up all this time to believe that at the finale, they were going to just say who he was, no matter who he was. And that would have been fine. Again, you can make him be anybody you want him to be, and I will buy what you're selling me, but you can't sell me this, where it's like, yeah, if I hadn't known what Christine had said,
Yeah.
then I would have taken this as a throwaway line, because again, like, yeah, a young girl might be like, oh, you sound like a mom. Okay, but you could also sound like a dad, because that's a conversation that a dad would have too. Like, it's not there for just moms. So it's just, I think it's going to leave a lot of the fans who didn't see Christine's comment or didn't see what John said, where he was basically like, if you don't have a clear answer on the show, I was overruled. Clearly he was. There's no clear answer. And I know you guys are going to come for me in the comments, and you can do so, but it wasn't said.
It's just frustrating, because so much of the show has been about sort of the game and the back and forth and sort of the cat and mouse, and the just ultimately, like, you know, I think we both wanted, you know, an answer, and, you know, I wanted a real explanation as to how all this came about in the first place. I wanted to know how the trick worked, and I think that would, like, so much of this show has been about that sort of fun and that back and forth and all of that appeal, and I just think that was all left out of this, and I think that is one of the other things I'm most angry about. It's just, to be perfectly honest here, is there's so much lore of the show that I just think gets completely forgotten about in the finale. Like, you know, Liz?
Yeah, Liz.
Yeah.
Nothing about Liz. Nothing. It was really kind of shocking, even with him going through, you know, talking to Paula, talking about Glenn, talking about, you know, he's reflecting on his life. Liz was such a huge part of his life. He built an entire criminal empire. There wasn't even like a moment that he went back to her grave or something. He could go to Cooper's house. He's on the run, but he could go to Cooper's house, but no goodbye to Liz. Like, it was odd.
It was disrespectful. It was disrespectful, I think, to Megan, who was like one of the co-leads of the show for 8 years.
Yes.
I feel like, you know, Aram, we at least had the cameo in the premiere. Like, I felt
shocking he wasn't there at the end. Like, I was shocked.
I felt in every part of my body we would see Amir again, and I'm bummed out that we didn't. But I can at least assume that Aram is okay. But like Samar, we never heard from Samar again, ever. Like, nobody knows what happened with her.
No, I just think if this is the end of Reddington's life and he knows that it's coming and he's reflecting on things where he's like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, sort of put together this big trust in, you know, Glenn's name and visiting Paula and whatever, that there's nothing for Liz. There's nothing, no talk about Liz, nothing about her, and how much he loved her. Yeah. It was really shocking.
I think the thing the show missed the most, and, you know, I'd say this for all of season 10 and to some extent some of season 9, I think it really did miss Bokenkamp. Like, I feel like he was you got to be kind of an oddball to come up with this show in the first place. So I think he's kind of an oddball who had some of the more interesting and innovative ideas. And I think without sort of his voice at the end of all of this, I think we did miss out on a little bit of the lore and a little bit of the fun stuff that we had. I mean, this finale still gave a lot. We still had some good moments.
Yeah, Hudson's gone. Bye. I think we all knew that that was coming. I mean, they kind of gave a little preview to that in the promo, and, you know, he wasn't going to make us. But I am telling you, when he shot Dembe in the neck, I thought Dembe was done. I was like, it's the series finale. Are they really going to kill off Dembe? Like, no way. Like, where he was shot, I thought he was done. My heart was like this.
I really thought he was done too.
I thought he was done.
I will say, out of everybody, like, not just Nishamp's performance, but I like the idea of knowing that, okay, you know, Dembe is sort of going and forging his own path.
Yeah, he's no longer with the FBI anymore.
I feel like I feel a sense of closure, I think, with him almost more so than any other character. It's like, you know, we don't really know what's going to happen with Cooper or Wrestler.
No, there was no real closure with them. They're just kind of hanging in the wind. We've been with them all this time. Nobody knows what happens to them.
Maybe Netflix is going to pick up the spinoff at some point down the road.
It's a Cooper Wrestler buddy buddy show.
Yeah, it's exactly what everybody out there is craving. The Cooper Wrestler buddy show, which I hope their success rate is higher than it is on the Blacklist over the years. Okay, we are winding down the end of this video now, and it's hard because it's just like,
It is. I just don't. We've been on this journey with you guys for so many years. Like, it was really hard coming into this video to even start it, knowing it was the last one. But yeah, 25 minutes in, guys, the show is over.
I'm like David Tennant before he regenerates as the doctor, and just like, I don't want to go. And yet they're making me. I see the light. I'm about to regenerate.
Like, overall, there was a lot of stuff that I really liked about this finale. That first hour was just firing on all cylinders. It was so good. And, Dembe's speech, everything with Paul, like, there was a lot to like about this.
Yeah.
The issue for me is just that there were like main things that the Blacklist knew the fans were waiting for. And, who is Reddington clearly stated is something that a lot of the fans were waiting for, and it was just never given. No mention of Liz at all while he's on his goodbye tour, that he's not even gonna mention her, like he's at the end of his life reflecting, and she's not even a thought in his head. That's shocking. That just doesn't make any sense. And, I really did think that the list mattered. Like, that number 2 was going to come up at some point. There was the rumors that HUDSON was going to be number 2, and he wasn't. And I was like, okay, then maybe the rumors of Reddington being 00 aren't true either, and he'll just be number 2. They couldn't possibly leave number 2 just empty. It's just like, the list just didn't matter. Like, it's just, what was the point of it then? Which is also kind of like just a disappointment.
The last thing I'll say is this is something I'm saying for myself as much as everybody else out there, but it's that don't let your feelings about the very end like overwhelm the feelings you had about the journey. And that, like, I may have hated the final minutes of this, but it's not going to take away the years that I've had enjoying this world, the show, the characters, like, all of that is still really important. And I think if we just dwell on the ending or parts of things that we don't like about not just this, but any show or life in general, to get philosophical here at the end, we're never going to be happy. Like, it's just, be thankful for the journey that we've had. We've been so thankful for you guys. And it's true. I have so much gratitude for you guys supporting us so many years.
So much gratitude. Thank you guys so much for being with us. We really hope that you will stick around for some of the other shows that we're covering. And again, leave us in the comments other shows that you guys want us to cover so that we can keep the discussion going. Because, like, for Blacklist, we've heard from you guys, and it was the same for us. We just didn't have other people in our lives that watch the show like as deeply as we do. So coming here to YouTube and being able to talk with you guys and making these relationships with you guys has really meant the world to us, because you guys gave us a lot in these conversations, things to think about that we never thought about, really cool theories, lots of fun disagreements.
Oh boy.
It's just been great to hear all the different opinions, theories, and just kind of jokes throughout all this time. And, just thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. And thank you to our patrons. You guys are the lifeblood of what we do. We're going to have that live stream pretty shortly here. So thank you, everybody. We will see you here next time.